We're chit-chatting. Does it ever feel like you're the one holding your entire relationship together? You're the scheduler, the problem solver, the vacation planner. You're constantly trying to steer the ship in the right direction. And instead of appreciation, you get just resistance and conflict. It's exhausting, right? It leaves you feeling resentful and just wondering, why won't he just listen? It feels like if you let go of the reins, even for 1 second, the whole thing will fall apart. You're not just managing a household, you are managing him. And that is a lonely and thankless job. But what if I told you the secret to real influence and a deeper connection isn't about trying harder? What if it's about letting go of the one strategy you're convinced is working? What if the very act of managing everything is the reason you feel so alone? Today, I'm going to share 3 counterintuitive shifts that will help you inspire change in him without the constant draining battle for control, or what he calls nagging. And you'll want to stick around because the 3rd shift, it's a game changer. Now, why does managing everything backfire? Before we get into the solutions, we have to understand why your current approach, even with the best intentions, is probably backfiring. You might be stuck in a common relationship trap that psychologists call the underfunctioning dynamic. It's one of the most common patterns in a long-term relationship. And here's how it works. One partner, the overfunctioner, takes on way too much responsibility for both the practical and the emotional sides of the relationship. You manage, you remind, you correct, you advise, you do this because you're anxious. You're afraid that if you don't do it, things won't get done, or at least they won't get done right. You've told yourself, if I don't do it, it won't get done, period. But here's the unintended side effect. The more you step in, the more your partner, the under-functioning partner, steps back. He becomes more passive, more disengaged, maybe even seems a little helpless. There are 2 big reasons for this. First, he never has to learn the skills because you're always there to do it for him. And second, this part is crucial. You're triggering something in his brain called psychological reactance. What, may I ask, is that? Well, psychological reactance is just a fancy term for that natural defensive reaction we all have when we feel like our freedom is being threatened. See, when someone feels pressured or told what to do, even if the advice is great, their gut instinct is to pull back, resist, or do the exact opposite just to prove they're in charge of themselves. So all those helpful reminders, the detailed instructions, the constant checking in, to him, it doesn't feel like help. It feels like a threat to his freedom. It feels like you don't trust him. So he resists, not because he's lazy or doesn't care, but because he's wired to protect his own sense of agency. And this creates that vicious cycle. The more you control, the more he resists, the more you feel you have to control. It's exhausting, it builds resentment, and it absolutely kills intimacy. I just read an article about a woman who had been asking her husband to lock the car door. They were having an argument about the car door. And do you know, he just ignored her. After 20 years, he just stopped locking the car door. Think about that for a second as we continue. So all those helpful reminders, the detailed instructions, the constant checking in, to him it doesn't feel like help. It feels like a threat to his freedom. It feels like you don't trust him. So he resists, not because he's lazy or doesn't care, but because he's wired to protect his own sense of agency. And this creates a vicious cycle that the more you control, the more he resists, the more you feel you have to control. It's exhausting, it builds resentment, and it absolutely kills intimacy. And I know a lot of you know what I'm talking about. So how do we break this pattern, right? How do you break this cycle? The answer is simple, but that does not mean it's easy. You have to stop playing the game. You have to shift from that anxious need for control to what I call a self-regulated presence. You see, true influence doesn't come from force. It comes from respect. It's not about making him do what you want. That will never work. It's about creating an environment where he wants to be a better partner, where he wants to step up, and where you both feel like you're on the same team. This means shifting focus away from trying to control his behavior and turning it inward to regulating your own. And this is a process. Let me tell you, it's a process. You will backtrack, but your awareness is the key. And it isn't about becoming passive either, or a doormat. It's the exact opposite. It's about stepping into your real power. The power to stay calm when you feel anxious. That's the power to set a boundary instead of making a demand. And the power to trust that you can handle it if the outcome isn't perfect. Let's break this down into 3 practical shifts. And when I say boundaries, remember, boundaries are about what you're going to do, not about what you're going to make someone else do. So that's really important to understand that. So the first shift is to learn how to actually delegate. Most of us who overfunction think we delegate, but what we're really doing is just outsourcing a task while trying to manage every single detail of how it gets done. You ask him to pack the kids' lunches, but you double check to make sure he's included fruit, didn't forget the juice, used the right bread. That isn't delegation. That's just micromanagement with extra steps. So with all that extra work of double checking what he's doing, you could have done it yourself, right? And it doesn't make him feel trusted. Truly letting go means you hand over the task and the responsibility for the results. You have to be willing to let the natural consequences be the teacher instead of you. You are not the teacher. The consequences of whether he does it right or wrong or complete is not on you. And here's a real world example. Let's say it's his turn to pay the electric bill. You tell him once, hey, the electric bill is due Friday and it's on your list this month. That's it. No reminding him on Wednesday. No asking on Thursday if he did it. No leaving the bill on his pillow. You let it go. He knows he's a whole grown person. He's a whole grown adult. Unless he asks for your help, he asks you to remind him, you let it go. So if he forgets and you get a late fee, that's the natural consequence. The discomfort of dealing with that is a much more powerful teacher than your reminders ever could be. Your role in that moment isn't to say, I told you so either. It's to be his partner, facing a shared problem. You can say, that's really frustrating. What should we do to solve this? Let him solve it. Let him figure it out. And this works both ways, by the way. This does 2 things. First, it gives him the space to build his own competence. And second, it changes your role from his manager back to his partner. The boundary isn't about controlling what he does. It's about what you will no longer do. You're not controlling anymore. Your boundary is, I will not carry the mental load for this task anymore. I know it feels risky, right? But it's the only way to create the space for him to truly step up. You have to let him do it. You ask him to do the dishes. You don't check to see if he washed everything or put everything in the dishwasher the right way. You just leave it alone. Let him do it. So let me ask you this. If this idea of letting go feels both terrifying and totally liberating, and you want to learn more about building these kinds of healthy boundaries, I really hope you'll subscribe, because this is what we talk about here, creating strong, peaceful relationships by focusing on the one thing you can actually control, and that's yourself. You can't control anyone. You can't control your kids. You can't control your parents. You can't control your husband, your wife. You can't control them. Only yourself. And now we're going to get into the second shift. The second shift is about consciously changing how you communicate. For many of us, our attempts to control come out sounding like criticism. It sounds like you loaded the dishwasher wrong, or that's not how you fold towels, or why did you take that route? My way is faster. We all do it. You'll probably do it sometimes, but the less you do it and the more aware you are, the less you will do it. And that's the key. It's not to be perfect. Every one of those little comments, no matter how small they seem, sends one message. You're doing it wrong. And I know better. This constant drip of correction wears down respect and makes him feel like he can't do anything right. And I know we've all heard that from our spouses, right? If you're a woman out there, drop a comment and let me know. We've all heard from our spouses, I just can't do anything right. Well, that's where that's coming from. And nobody is open to influence from someone who they feel is always looking down on them. So the shift here is to stop being his critic. I know you've been doing it for a long time, but you have to start being his champion. This doesn't mean being fake either or ignoring real problems. It just means you make a conscious effort to look for what he's doing right and call it out. You call it out. It's about making respectful requests and not demands. A demand is all about getting what you want. A request honors his freedom to choose whether he wants to or not. So instead of you need to take out the trash, you could try, would you be able to take out the trash when you have a minute? And even more powerful than that, catch him doing something right. When he does handle that chore without a reminder, say, thank you so much for taking care of that. I really appreciate it. One piece of genuine affirmation will do more to encourage him than 100 criticisms ever could. It creates a climate of goodwill and partnership. When your partner feels respected and appreciated by you, he'll be so much more open to your thoughts and opinions. You'll go from being his adversary to being his most trusted ally. All right, this is the final and most important shift because it gets to the absolute root of the need to control your own anxiety, that urge to manage everything on the outside. Your partner, your home, your schedule is almost always a way to try and calm a feeling of anxiety on the inside. You feel anxious, so you try to control your world to feel safe again. Yes, ma'am. But trying to control another person is a battle you will always lose. The work that leads to true influence is learning how to master your own emotions. It's about learning to soothe your own anxiety instead of making him responsible for calming you down. Because what you want, if he does immediately what you want, that helps to calm you down, but that's not his responsibility. So the next time you feel that wave of anxiety rising because he isn't doing something the right way or on your timeline, just pause before you react and try to fix everything. Turn your focus inward. Take a deep breath, maybe put a hand on your heart and ask yourself, what am I feeling right now? What am I afraid will happen if I don't step in? Can I just sit with the discomfort for a moment without trying to control it? And then take another deep breath. When you practice sitting with that discomfort, you build incredible inner strength. It breaks the link between your emotional state and his actions. When you can stay calm and grounded, even when things aren't perfect, you give off this powerful, secure energy. That is the core of being an emotional leader. A calm presence is magnetic. It communicates safety and stability, which naturally inspires him to trust you and cooperate with you. he will feel the shift in your energy from anxious and controlling to calm and confident. And he will respond to that for sure. This isn't about being a doormat or ignoring your needs. And it's definitely not about controlling or manipulating him either. Let's get that right. It's the opposite. It's realizing your greatest power isn't in managing him, but in mastering yourself. When you no longer need him to act a certain way for you to feel okay, you are truly free. And from that place of freedom, you can influence him with love and respect, not with fear and anxiety. So let's bring it all together. This constant fight for control is leaving you exhausted and creating distance in your relationship. The real path to influence, as counterintuitive as it sounds, is to let go. That's it. Let go, let God. You do this with 3 big shifts. First, you let go of the outcome and hold your boundary, letting natural consequences do the teaching. Second, you consciously replace criticism with respect and affirmation, building a foundation of goodwill. And third, and most importantly, you learn to master your own anxiety, shifting from a controlling presence to a calm, confident one. When you do that, everything changes. True influence isn't about fighting for control. It's the quiet, powerful result of becoming a woman who is so secure in herself and so grounded in her own spirit that she inspires the best in the people around her. It's not about changing him. It's about transforming you. And that changes everything. Have you ever noticed this control resistance cycle in your own relationship? Which one of these 3 shifts feels the most challenging or maybe the most liberating for you? Share your experience in the comments below. Reading each other's stories is how we all learn and grow. And if this message resonated with you, please give this video a like and subscribe for more insights on building powerful, peaceful relationships. I'll see you in the next one.